Your soulmate ran into someone who knows you, and what they heard left them completely stunned. My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting. Your soulmate just ran into someone who knows you, and what began as a completely normal conversation suddenly became impossible to forget. The moment your name was mentioned, your soulmate expected to hear something simple. Instead, this person revealed a side of you they had never fully understood. They spoke about your quiet strength, the feelings you rarely show, and the way you remember certain people long after everyone assumes you have moved on. Your soulmate went silent, because every word seemed to explain something about you that had confused them for a long time. Don't skip, because the biggest revelation had not even been spoken yet. Then the conversation took an unexpected turn. The person who knows you mentioned something about the way you behave when someone truly matters to you, and suddenly your soulmate started remembering everything differently: the unfinished conversations, the unusual silence, the moments when your eyes seemed to say more than your words ever could. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate realized that what they once considered ordinary may have carried a much deeper meaning. And then came one sentence they were completely unprepared to hear: you had remembered something about them that they thought you had forgotten long ago. That single detail stunned them, because almost nobody else knew how important that moment had secretly been to you. But the most surprising part came just before they walked away. Your soulmate discovered that you are no longer the same person they once understood so easily. You have become stronger, quieter, more selective, and much harder to read. And strangely, that realization didn't make them forget you. It made them think about you even more. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, because one question followed your soulmate after that encounter: what if this connection meant far more than I ever realized? And the answer became even more powerful when they remembered one specific moment between you. Because now they finally understood why you reacted the way you did. Something shifted inside your soulmate after that conversation, and they couldn't simply walk away and forget what they had heard. Don't skip, because this is where everything starts connecting. They kept replaying the smallest memories of you, the pauses between your words, the moments you suddenly became quiet, and the strange feeling that there was always something deeper you wanted to say. What stunned them most was realizing that the person who knows you had described those exact emotions without even knowing what had happened between you two. Suddenly, your soulmate began wondering whether they had missed something enormous while it was happening right in front of them. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. One particular memory returned stronger than all the others, and this time, they finally understood what your silence may have been trying to say. But then came the detail that completely changed the direction of their thoughts. Your soulmate learned that you had once spoken about a connection that felt unusually difficult to explain, a person whose presence stayed in your mind even when life became busy and everything around you changed. No name was mentioned, yet something about the description felt incredibly familiar. Don't skip. Your soulmate immediately started comparing those words with everything they remembered about you, and the similarities were impossible for them to ignore. They began asking themselves a question they had avoided for far too long: was that connection actually us? And once that thought entered their mind, it refused to leave. Because now the past wasn't looking like a collection of random moments anymore. It was beginning to look like a story they had never fully understood. And just when your soulmate thought there was nothing left that could surprise them, the person who knows you mentioned one final thing. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They revealed that there was one memory you never treated like an ordinary memory. Something small had happened between you and your soulmate, something they assumed meant almost nothing at the time, but apparently, you remembered it differently. Your soulmate instantly knew which moment it could be, and that realization left them completely stunned. Because if they were right, then the connection they had been questioning might have been deeper than they ever allowed themselves to believe. And now there was only one thing they desperately wanted to know: if that moment still means something to you today, what happens when your paths cross again? What your soulmate realized next was something they could no longer push out of their mind. Don't skip, because this is where the entire story begins to turn. After leaving that unexpected encounter, they kept thinking about the one memory the person had mentioned. At first, your soulmate tried convincing themselves it was only coincidence, but the more they remembered, the harder that became. Your expression that day. The way your voice changed. The silence that followed. Suddenly, tiny details they had ignored started feeling completely different. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate began to understand that perhaps you weren't being distant in those moments, you were protecting something you didn't know how to express. And that realization hit them harder than anything else they had heard. Then another memory surfaced, one your soulmate had almost forgotten. There had been a moment when you could have said much more, yet you stopped yourself. Back then, they assumed you simply had nothing left to say. Now they were questioning that assumption completely. Don't skip, because the person who knows you had revealed one surprising truth about you: when something matters deeply, you don't always make it obvious. Sometimes you become quieter. Sometimes you step back. Sometimes the strongest emotions are hidden behind the simplest words. Suddenly, your soulmate understood why certain moments between you had always felt unfinished. Something huge is waiting for you, because now they weren't only remembering the past, they were wondering whether there was still an unfinished chapter between you. And then came the thought that stunned them most. What if meeting this person wasn't important because of what was said, but because of when it happened? Stay till the end. Your soulmate had been trying to place you somewhere safely in their memories, yet one unexpected conversation brought everything rushing back with a completely different meaning. They started wondering what they would say if they suddenly saw you again. Would they act normal? Would they finally ask the question they never asked? Or would one look between you reveal everything words couldn't? Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate now knows something about you they didn't understand before, but there is still one missing piece, and when they discover that final piece, they may realize why your connection has been so difficult to forget. Now everything your soulmate thought they understood about you is beginning to look different. Don't skip, because this is where the missing piece starts revealing itself. After hearing what that person knew about you, your soulmate remembered something incredibly specific. A moment when you looked completely calm on the outside, yet something in your eyes felt impossible to explain. They had dismissed it then. Now they couldn't. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. That person had unknowingly described exactly how you become when something matters more than you want anyone to realize. And suddenly your soulmate understood. Maybe your silence was never emptiness. Maybe it carried the words you couldn't bring yourself to say. That possibility stunned them, because it meant some of the moments they thought were endings may actually have been unfinished beginnings. But the biggest surprise came when your soulmate started questioning their own behavior. Don't skip. For the first time, they wondered whether you had been waiting for something from them too, a clearer sign, a deeper conversation, one moment of certainty that never arrived. They began replaying every opportunity when they could have said more but didn't. Every time they almost reached toward you emotionally, then pulled back. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate suddenly realized this story may never have been about one person caring while the other felt nothing. It may have been two people feeling something unusual while neither completely understood what the other was carrying. And once that possibility entered their mind, everything became harder to ignore. Then came the realization they were least prepared for. The person who knows you hadn't simply given your soulmate information, they had changed the way your soulmate sees your entire connection. Don't skip, because this final detail opens something even bigger. Your soulmate now wonders what would happen if they met you again knowing everything they know now. Would your eyes reveal that familiar feeling? Would the conversation finally become the one you never finished? Or would they discover that you understood this connection long before they did? Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate is no longer asking why you affected them so deeply. They are asking why, after all this time, one unexpected conversation about you was powerful enough to bring every feeling back to the surface. And what they are beginning to realize about the answer could change everything that happens next. And now, the question your soulmate tried to avoid is becoming impossible to silence. Don't skip, because what they realized after that encounter surprised even them. They thought hearing about you would bring clarity, but instead, it awakened something they had buried beneath time, distance, and unanswered questions. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate suddenly remembered how different your connection felt from everything ordinary. The strange familiarity, the conversations that stayed in their thoughts afterward, and those moments when neither of you needed many words to understand that something had shifted. But now they see those memories through completely different eyes. The person who knows you didn't convince them to think about you. They simply revealed enough truth for your soulmate to realize they had never completely stopped. Then something even more unexpected happened inside their mind. Don't skip. Your soulmate started imagining what it would actually feel like to stand in front of you again. Not the old version of you they remember, but the person you have become after everything you experienced. Would you still recognize that familiar look in their eyes? Would you speak normally while both of you silently remembered everything? Or would one small moment immediately expose how much was left unfinished? Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate now understands that meeting you again wouldn't feel like meeting someone from the past. It would feel like returning to a question that never received its answer. And that thought has created a curiosity they can no longer easily ignore. But here comes the revelation that changes the entire story. Stay till the end, because your soulmate finally understood why those words from someone who knows you affected them so deeply. It wasn't only because they discovered something new about you. It was because everything they heard matched feelings they had secretly experienced themselves. Don't skip. That is what left them completely stunned. They weren't listening to a stranger describe someone they once knew, they were hearing an explanation for a connection they had never been able to explain. And now one possibility is growing stronger in their mind. Perhaps the most important conversation between you hasn't happened yet. Because if your paths cross again, your soulmate will be carrying one question they never had the courage to ask before, and the answer could reveal what this entire connection has been leading toward. Here is where everything becomes impossible for your soulmate to dismiss. Don't skip, because one thought has started following them everywhere. What if that unexpected encounter happened at exactly the moment they needed to understand you differently? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Before this conversation, your soulmate could place the past inside a simple explanation and continue forward. But now that explanation no longer feels complete. They keep remembering the way the person who knows you spoke about your heart, your silence, and the things you never reveal easily. And suddenly, your soulmate recognizes something extraordinary. They had witnessed those exact sides of you without understanding what they meant. What once looked like distance now feels like hesitation. What once seemed ordinary now carries another meaning. And the more they connect those pieces, the more one realization grows. Perhaps they were closer to discovering the truth about your connection than either of you realized. Then came a moment your soulmate wasn't expecting. Don't skip. They remembered something you once said, just a few simple words that seemed insignificant at the time. But after everything they heard, those words suddenly sounded completely different in their memory. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate now wonders whether you were quietly giving them a chance to understand something they weren't ready to see. That possibility shook their entire interpretation of the past. They began wondering how many other signs they overlooked, how many conversations carried meanings beneath the surface, and how many times you almost revealed something before choosing silence instead. And then the biggest question appeared: if they had understood you then the way they understand you now, would everything between you have turned out differently? But what happened next inside your soulmate was even more surprising. They stopped asking only about the past and started thinking about the future. Don't skip, because this changes everything. For the first time, they imagined seeing you again without pretending the connection had meant nothing. They imagined finally looking at you with all the missing pieces now in place. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is one detail your soulmate still doesn't know, and it may be the most important detail of all. They know what someone else saw in you. They know what they themselves remember. But they still don't know what you would say if the two of you were standing face to face today. And that unanswered question has become stronger than every answer they received, because deep inside, your soulmate is beginning to wonder whether you have been carrying the same unfinished question too. Now your soulmate is noticing something they never expected. The conversation ended, but its effect didn't. Don't skip, because this is where one hidden realization becomes impossible to ignore. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate keeps returning to one particular sentence the person who knows you said about the way you remember meaningful connections. That sentence changed everything. Suddenly, your soulmate remembered the smallest details between you. The words nobody else would remember, the quiet moments that seemed insignificant, and the strange way certain memories of you never completely faded. And then something clicked. Maybe the reason they could never fully explain your connection was because they had been searching for a simple explanation for something that never felt simple. That realization left them completely stunned, because now they are wondering whether you remembered those same moments too. What happened next was even more surprising. Don't skip. Instead of trying to forget the conversation, your soulmate began mentally returning to the exact moment your paths first changed. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because they suddenly remembered something about your reaction that they had misunderstood completely. You didn't respond the way they expected. You became quieter, more careful, almost as though you were protecting words that could change everything if spoken aloud. Back then, your soulmate assumed you were pulling away. Now they are questioning whether you were actually waiting to see if they would move closer. That possibility hit them deeply. Because if they were wrong about that moment, what else were they wrong about? How many signs did they overlook? And how different would everything have been if they had understood what was happening beneath your silence? But one final realization is now becoming stronger than everything else. Your soulmate no longer wants second-hand answers. Don't skip, because this is the turning point. Something huge is waiting for you. Hearing about you from someone else gave them pieces of the truth, but it also created a question only you could ever answer. They are beginning to understand that no memory, assumption, or outside explanation can tell them what your connection means now. Only one real conversation could do that. And suddenly, the possibility of meeting you again doesn't feel like something they would avoid. It feels like a moment they would finally be ready for. Because if your paths cross again, your soulmate may not look at you the way they once did. This time, they will know what they almost missed. And there is one thing they may finally be ready to say that they couldn't say before. This is the moment your soulmate's entire understanding begins to shift. Don't skip, because the one thing they may finally be ready to say is connected to everything they heard about you. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate has realized that if they ever stand in front of you again, they don't want another conversation filled with hidden meanings and unfinished sentences. They want to know whether that strange connection they carried in silence was something you felt too. And what stunned them most was recognizing that they already know how they would begin. Not with some dramatic confession, but with one simple question about a memory only the two of you could truly understand. Because that memory has become the key to everything. If you remember it the way they do, your soulmate knows the entire conversation could change in seconds. But there is another detail they cannot stop thinking about. Don't skip. The person who knows you revealed something your soulmate never expected to hear. You had changed, but you hadn't become someone who treats meaningful connections casually. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because that information made your soulmate wonder whether the door they assumed was completely closed had actually been left unanswered. Suddenly, they started imagining your reaction if they mentioned that old memory. Would you become quiet? Would you smile because you instantly understood? Would your expression reveal something before your words could hide it? Your soulmate doesn't know. And strangely, that uncertainty is exactly what keeps pulling their thoughts back toward you. They now understand that the biggest mystery was never what happened between you, it was everything neither of you ever said. And now comes the realization that left them completely stunned. Don't skip, because everything has been leading toward this. Your soulmate finally understands that meeting someone who knows you didn't simply remind them of your past. It showed them how differently they might approach you in the future. Something huge is waiting for you. If your paths cross again, they may finally stop pretending those memories were ordinary. They may finally acknowledge that some connections remain powerful precisely because something important was never completed. And there is one question growing louder inside them. What if both of you walked away believing the other person didn't feel enough, when the truth was that neither of you knew how to reveal enough? That possibility has changed everything. Because now your soulmate isn't wondering whether they remember you. They are wondering whether the next time they see you could finally reveal what both of you misunderstood from the very beginning. But now your soulmate has reached the realization they were never expecting to face. Don't skip, because everything they heard has brought them to one powerful question: what if the connection wasn't lost, but simply misunderstood? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They keep replaying the conversation with the person who knows you, searching for the exact moment everything changed inside them. And they found it. It was when they realized that the version of you they carried in their memory was incomplete. There were feelings behind your silence, reasons behind your distance, and meanings behind moments they once dismissed as ordinary. Suddenly, your soulmate isn't remembering you with the same certainty anymore. They are remembering you with curiosity. And that curiosity is becoming stronger because one detail still refuses to make sense unless your connection meant far more than either of you admitted. Then another thought hit them unexpectedly. Don't skip. What if you also misunderstood them? What if there were moments when you interpreted their hesitation as indifference, while they were actually struggling to understand what they felt? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate began replaying their own actions now, not yours. The conversations they ended too quickly. The words they almost said. The moments they wanted to move closer but chose silence instead. For the first time, they could see how easily two people could carry the same unanswered feelings while believing completely different stories about each other. And that realization stunned them, because suddenly the past wasn't asking to be repeated. It was asking to be understood. And this is where everything becomes even bigger. Don't skip, because your soulmate is no longer wondering what they would feel if they saw you again. They already know. Something huge is waiting for you. They would look at you differently because now they understand what they failed to notice before. They would listen differently. They would pay attention to every pause, every expression, every word that carries more meaning than it appears to. And deep inside, one sentence is becoming harder for them to hold back. There is something I should have understood about us a long time ago. But before they could ever say those words, there is one final truth they would need to know from you. And if your answer matches what they have secretly begun to believe, then that unexpected encounter with someone who knows you may have changed far more than your soulmate ever imagined. And now the final truth is closer than your soulmate ever expected it to be. Don't skip, because everything that began with one unexpected encounter has led directly to this realization. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate finally understands that the most shocking thing they heard wasn't a secret about your past, it was confirmation that they may have misunderstood the depth of your connection. The person who knows you simply opened a door your soulmate had kept closed inside their own mind. Suddenly, they remembered the way certain moments with you felt different, how your presence stayed with them longer than expected, and why some memories never became completely ordinary. And now they are asking themselves the question they should have asked much earlier: what if there was something real beneath all those unfinished moments, but neither of you understood how to bring it into the open? Here is where the entire story comes full circle. Don't skip. Your soulmate now realizes that if they meet you again, they cannot approach you carrying the same assumptions they once had. Something huge is waiting for you. They would want to understand who you are now, what those old moments actually meant to you, and whether the connection they remember still carries meaning on your side. Most importantly, they finally understand something about themselves. They weren't stunned only because someone revealed unexpected things about you. They were stunned because those revelations awakened emotions and questions they thought had disappeared. And once those questions returned, they realized how much had remained unfinished beneath the surface. So if your soulmate ever stands before you again, the biggest moment may not be some dramatic revelation. Stay till the end, because this is what everything has been building toward. It may simply be the moment when both of you stop guessing. One honest conversation could finally reveal whether those memories meant the same thing on both sides or whether they were meant to teach you something before life moved forward. Either answer would finally bring clarity. But your soulmate knows one thing now that they didn't know before: what happened between you mattered enough to survive inside their memory, and hearing your name from someone who truly knows you was enough to make them see the entire story differently. Don't skip, because something huge was waiting for you, and it was this: sometimes the most surprising revelation isn't discovering a new secret about someone. It's discovering that the story you thought was finished still had one truth left to reveal. Just when your soulmate believed they had finally understood everything, one last detail returned to their mind, and it changed the meaning of the entire encounter again. Don't skip, because this wasn't something the person who knows you explained directly. It was something your soulmate noticed afterward. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. While replaying that conversation, they remembered how confidently this person spoke about the impact you leave on people who truly get close to you. And suddenly, your soulmate realized they had experienced exactly that. Time may have moved forward, circumstances may have changed, but certain memories of you still carried the same unusual weight. That was the moment they stopped asking, "Why am I remembering this now?" and started asking something much bigger: "Why did I ever convince myself this meant nothing?" And once that question appeared, they couldn't return to the old version of the story. Then came the realization that surprised them even more. Don't skip. Your soulmate began understanding that they weren't missing the past itself, they were thinking about what never had the chance to become clear. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. There were questions neither of you asked, truths neither of you confirmed, and moments where both of you relied on assumptions instead of words. Your soulmate now sees how one different conversation could have changed everything. But instead of only regretting that, something else has awakened inside them, the desire to finally understand. They want to know what you were really thinking during those unforgettable moments. They want to know whether you noticed the same strange connection. And most of all, they want to know why someone who knows you could describe your hidden emotions in a way that matched their memories of you so perfectly. And this is the part they cannot ignore anymore. Don't skip, because your soulmate has finally reached the question beneath every other question. Something huge is waiting for you. What if the reason this encounter stunned them wasn't because they learned who you were, but because they finally recognized who they had been around you? More attentive. More affected. More emotionally present than they ever admitted to themselves. Suddenly, the mystery isn't only about your feelings. It is about theirs. And that changes everything. Because if your paths cross again, your soulmate may no longer be searching your face for answers. They may arrive already knowing the first truth they need to admit to themselves: you mattered more than they understood at the time. But there is still one revelation left, the one thing the person who knows you almost said before that unexpected conversation ended, and if your soulmate heard it correctly, it explains why your name came up in the first place. And then your soulmate remembered the exact words that almost slipped past them. Don't skip, because this tiny detail may explain why your name entered that conversation in the first place. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The person who knows you hadn't mentioned you randomly. Something your soulmate said, some small description of a person they could never completely understand, had reminded them of you. That realization left your soulmate stunned. Without deliberately talking about you, they had somehow described enough of the connection for another person to recognize it. Suddenly, your soulmate understood why the conversation had felt so strangely personal from the beginning. They hadn't simply heard unexpected things about you, they had accidentally revealed how deeply the memory of you was still woven into the way they spoke, remembered, and understood certain emotions. What happened inside them after that was even more surprising. Don't skip. Your soulmate began remembering the exact moment the other person's expression changed, as though they had connected two pieces your soulmate hadn't connected yet. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Then came a simple observation: whenever your soulmate described that unforgettable connection, they remembered details people usually forget. Tiny expressions. Specific words. Little moments that should have faded long ago. And suddenly your soulmate had no explanation for why those details remained so clear. That was when they finally admitted something to themselves: they had spent more time trying to understand your connection than they ever realized. Not because they were trapped in yesterday, but because something about what happened between you never received a clear answer. But the biggest realization came after the conversation was already over. Don't skip, because this is where everything changes again. Your soulmate understood that the person who knows you had never actually told them what to believe. They simply gave them information, and your soulmate's own memories did the rest. Something huge is waiting for you. Every connection they made came from moments they personally experienced with you, and that made the realization impossible to dismiss. Now they are left with one extraordinary thought: perhaps the truth was never hidden somewhere far away. Perhaps it had been sitting inside those unfinished memories all along, waiting for both of you to understand them differently. And if your paths cross again, there may be one question your soulmate can no longer leave unanswered, because your response could finally reveal whether the person who knows you noticed something that both of you had been overlooking from the very beginning.